So I was working with the Belarus 250 AS, and all of a sudden it started not responding to the throttle and wanting to die, and then, well, then it died and I couldn't get it restarted, and no amount of cranking or fuel priming would get it running. So we got some fuel system issues. I think we're going to dig into this thing and see what we can find. So the Belarus started running a little wonky with throttle control, and then it went restart. And I was getting fuel from the feed pump into the second stage fuel filter, but it wasn't coming out of the second stage fuel filter. Well, I took the second stage fuel filter off and there's no filter. So I guess this is just a water separator at this point, but and there's a little bit of crud in there. I mean, ideally one would have a filter in there. I'll have to look up what filter it needs. And a diesel engine like this really ought to have 2 fuel filters if you want to save your injection pump. Oh, I hope it's not too late. I hope that filter is a good one. I have had that filter off, and I know it's okay. When I did the revival on this thing, I didn't bother replacing it because it was really new. Well, I don't know. Maybe the boost pump doesn't have enough pressure, or maybe this line is clogged. I'll have to, I don't know, take a look at that or something, maybe. Let me see what I can figure out here and see what the problem is. Well, like I suspected, no matter how much I wind it over, and I got the compression release pulled to save the battery, but I cannot get any fuel out of the top of the injection pump going to the injectors. So I think it's the main injection pump that is having some issues. The feed pump's okay, I verified that, so and I'll try it a few more times, but I don't know. So originally I wasn't getting any fuel out of the top of the pump here, and I took this out and I cleaned the delivery and check valves, which look like this: spring here, and then the seat, and then, well, they call it a valve, and then another valve and another spring, and those seat against each other like that. This has a hole in the middle and then this seats against it there like that, and this spring goes on the bottom. Now make sure if you take this apart, don't lose any of those. I don't know what happens if you try to run it without those valves. I guess that prevents the backflow of fuel, probably longer startup times and things, but anyway, I'm cleaning those right now and we'll see if that does anything. So I put the valves back in, cleaned, and I only get a little squirt of fuel. I can put it back together and try to pump it up. I mean, I know those valves are supposed to be in there, obviously, but I'll put it back together and see what I get out of there with everything cleaned up. I don't know. All right, I got the injectors cracked. Let's try it again. Getting a little bit out of the rear cylinder. Oh, got some out of the front cylinder too. Oh, okay. Guess we'll tighten those up and hope for the best. I do love this tractor because you can work on almost everything on it with a crescent wrench. But that is the way it's designed. You know, if you're stuck in the middle of the Siberian tundra, you need to be able to have as few tools with you as possible in order to fix your equipment. So, all right, let's spin it over a little bit more and I don't know. Let's see if we can fire her up, I guess. Let's see what happens. Nothing. I wonder if we're not getting enough pressure to... Well, I guess the injectors could be the problem. I didn't think about that. I could clean them up. Well, we're getting fuel to the injectors. Could be the injectors got clogged from gunk not having that secondary filter there. Okay, so I pull the connector out and there is a final screen in there and the screen appears to be okay, so I guess I'm gonna have to pull the injector out, I suppose. It's gonna be a pain, but all right, let me verify that that screen is I'll get it out. Let me verify the screen is good and we'll see. So I've cleaned the screens that are behind each port on each injector. I don't know if it's going to make a difference. Let's see if we can pressurize the fuel system again and check it out. I got the compression release pulled. We're just trying to get fuel out of the injector circuits. My starter's overheated. So everyone touts these gear reduction starters over the standard Belarus starters, but I don't like them, and here's why. If your tractor doesn't start right away, it overheats, and then it just sits there and clicks. We're gonna cool it down a little bit. Nope, don't try this at home. Well, let's try this again. Battery on. Oh, still too hot. You know, and this is even with the compression release pulled. I don't know if I just got a cheap starter or... I mean, I think I got the good one. I don't know. It was a while back I replaced this, but it's always done this if you have to crank it for more than, like, you know, 10 seconds, which... And that's even with the compression release on. I mean, it's not really drawing a whole lot of power with the compression release pulled, so I don't know. All right, let's try again. All right, I'm getting fuel. Where's my wrench? Getting fuel up there, so that's good. I don't know. I checked the specs for these injectors. They're supposed to operate at something like 2400 psi, I think. It's a lot. So if the pump isn't supplying pressure properly, the injectors will never open. I mean, that goes for any diesel engine, but I didn't know what the specs were for these injectors, but I believe that's what it is if I did the conversion properly. Converted it from metric. All my specs are in metric. About as good as I'm gonna get for now, because I might have to take these off again, so there's no point just leaning on the handle. I don't know. I'm gonna try to do short bursts here to save my starter. See, that's why. That's all it can do. Or it overheats. Alright, well, when I have something, I'll get back to you. The next step would be to pull the injectors, and that's just a pain in the rear because you can't get a socket down over them because of the way they're shaped. And when you pull the rocker covers, you can't really get a You can kind of barely get a wrench down there on the nut, but you really got to pull the rocker assemblies and everything to get to it properly with a wrench. And I don't even have the right size wrench, I don't think, because it is a big old metric. I can't get a crescent wrench on there because there's not enough room. Well, I just tried to start it again, and of course I wasn't filming. Wound it over a little bit and then pushed the compression release down, and I got a few puffs of smoke, and well, then my starter stopped working. So all right, once more onto the breech. Got that. The glow plugs a little bit this time. I don't know. Help it out. It's a hot day, but I never know. Come on. We have success. I did cleaned the entire fuel system, but other than that, I don't know. I mean, she's running good now. Let's see if it'll hold an idle. I guess I can finally back up my trailer. Well, now she's running great. I don't know. I don't know. The fuel systems are finicky on this thing. I gotta get that other filter in. I have it on order, but it's gotta come from Ukraine, you know. So, yeah. Yeah, okay. Well, gotta do some more work with this thing, I guess. It's all good, it runs. After fully bleeding the system, and I hand primed it for like a full minute till it got hard after I put it back together, and wound it over without the compression release, with the compression release handle out, and you know, bled everything, and I cleaned all the little inline filters and valves, check valves and delivery valves. She runs great now. I turned it off, restarted it, worked fine. But the most important thing is that it works, and I didn't put anything other than time into troubleshooting this thing, so it didn't take any money to fix it, so that works for me. So hopefully this quick little video might help somebody out. If you have the same problem, it'll show you points to check in your fuel system, but hopefully you have a second stage filter or filters installed. I am going to fix that. I have filters on order, but they're not here yet. I'm just going to try to not use this thing as much as possible until I get that second filter installed. Filters are very important in diesel systems because, as you've seen in this, there's all these little filters and valves and everything, and it's a high pressure system, and you know, it's got the high pressure injection pump and everything, and one little speck of dirt in the wrong place can just shut the whole thing down. So you just got to be real careful, and do not ever run them without filters if you can help it. Unfortunately, I've been running this thing without that second filter without knowing it for a long time, so not much I can do about that, but I got lucky that it didn't you know, clog up the pump or anything. That fortunately the engineers who designed this maybe foresaw this by putting those screens before the final injectors and all that stuff, and it is fairly easy to work on if you know the points to clean and everything. So anyway, hopefully this will help someone out. And as always, I appreciate likes, subscribes, comments. You got comments, leave them down there below. Always appreciate it. Want to hear from people. And as always, thanks for watching.